Good morning, everybody. It's Jillian with JillyJuice, JillyJuice.com. I have a book right now, copyright 2018. It's not the most current thought process as far as my politics, but the protocol is still pretty much up to date. Though there might be a few changes to it down the road, nothing too extreme. But Kevin and I are tossing some stuff or ideas back and forth. But the new book that hopefully will be copyrighted 2019 is going to come, or 2020 is going to come out sometime this year. So look forward to that. But if you want to do the protocol, just have the actual protocol and the healing symptoms and the diet, then get the current book that's on the market, because that at least is very currently relevant. So, real quick, I went on to an anti-vax site and they posted an NCBI or NIH article about AIDS and where it came from. Now, in the conspiracy world, they are saying that the government's intention is to depopulate the world, and that's not true. I think there's unintended consequences, and that's what the article was trying to show. And it was a hypothesis that another virus was created because some monkey virus DNA got into the polio vaccine, which subsequently infected people with the AIDS virus. And now this was I guess this came out in like 1994, and it hasn't really been mainstream too much. But that's the hypothesis, that there are offshoots of viruses because we're trying to preemptively and proactively expose people to an environment that could potentially be very, very aggressive. And so if you get a lesser version of the environment, which is viruses, you won't die, but yeah, you might get a little bit maimed if you have weaknesses in your body. And that's why you're seeing some people get adverse reactions to exposures to viruses out there and other people don't. Okay, because I've been around viruses that have been in my environment and totally not be totally symptomatic at all, or I might have a little bit of a symptom like mucus to the body releasing, and that's about it. So you're always going to be exposed to viruses, but whenever you preemptively expose someone to a virus, no matter what, there's always going to be some kind of potential possibility that it's not going to go exactly the way it's planned, or offshoots are going to happen like the AIDS virus. But it's not the government's intention to try to kill people, okay? If anything, it's the complete opposite. But there are unintended consequences, no different than those that completely throw away the allopathic world and want to turn to the holistic world. And then they're taking kombucha, apple cider vinegar, and colloidal silver and all those different detoxes and heavy metals to try to mitigate against the viruses. But in essence, the unintended consequence is causing more imbalances and then subsequently trigger some kind of predisposition that you already have prematurely. Okay, so anytime you apply man-made law, Mother Nature or natural law will always trump. Okay, so that's just a little side note there for those, and it's on my Facebook, and it's also on my business page if I've blocked y'all. Anyway, so let me get to the main meat of this. Last night I went on to a article or something about a rally in Washington, D.C. of women hating Trump, and they're protesting, and then it's the whole equal rights amendment. Lordy, here we go. Which we already have like amendments of 1964 that says that there's no discrimination in ethnicity as well as gender. So I don't know exactly what this equal rights amendment is really going to make any difference. But hey, if somebody wants to feel like they're being heard, fine. I mean, I don't really care. It's not going to change anything in my world or even their world. Maybe it's more about winning or something, or satisfaction. But I went on there and I whenever you go in somewhere and you say something completely the opposite, you're gonna have people like attack you, which I was totally prepared for. It's not like I'm not prepared for this. Believe me, I've been going on to these sites with my points of view because I finally get it now. I mean, I've finally figured out why it is that California is so different. And it's like socialist / communist almost, more socialist than anything else. And so I've completely now let go of the socialist ideals. And the reason why is because it's about capability. It's about understanding social constructs, biological constructs, elemental constructs, and then all of the propaganda, the brainwashing into demonizing and hating a race, hating a gender, hating anything that doesn't align with your thought process. And so I came from that world where Republicans are evil, they're all about money, women and minorities are always discriminated against, and you should always rise up as far as get out there and protest for women's rights and pro-abortion. And yeah, the whole thing with the suffragettes, okay, fine. We had our history. Women are allowed to vote. We don't enslave anybody as far as like slavery. We have the Civil War and all that stuff. So we pretty much took care of the main things that violated the laws of life, slavery, and as far as, at least giving something in the law where women are allowed to vote and have a voice. Now, what happens from there, it's all, just the drama and the dance around your perspective, whether or not it's actually exhibiting in the population, because people still have their perspectives on other races and cultures and religions and all that. And you can't legislate morals. You can't force someone to like you if they don't like you. And then it translates into economics. Oh gosh, they're discriminating against me in the workplace. They're doing this and that, and it's just like, okay. And so the JillyJuice broke down the social constructs, men and women. That's, a characterization, a name for a specific physiological thing that you have, okay? But then there's also other meanings attached to the role or the name of man and woman, which then clouds the issues, because then it becomes something that people adopt as it's a permanent. If you're a woman, you're supposed to be at home pregnant and all that stuff, and not supposed to be out there in the workforce. I mean, that's really like the 1950s version, but that's kind of the framework of feminism, and that came out in the 1960s. The whole anti-war campaign, the feminist movement, the total man-hating thing. Yes, men did, at one point did have a specific, perception of what women should be capable of. And we have since graduated from that. There are women CEOs and all that stuff. So now we have to graduate to the next level, which is capability. And so when I went on to this site saying, okay, what did I say? Oh my God, I should read it, because it kind of, it did piss them off, but I wanted to make a point. And this is what I was trying to say. The goal for Jilly Juicers is to redefine the roles for men and women and stop reverting back to the archaic socialist activism of feminism and start forging our own path and become so marketable we never have to claim discrimination ever again. When we all become so strong on the JillyJuice, we'll never have to revisit the past ever again, because we will be too busy creating our future. Okay? So that's really the ultimate outcome for JillyJuice and women. But to spark debate and potential hatred, which is fine, because anytime you upset a homeostasis or you introduce a new thought process that completely is opposite of that specific thread, you're going to risk people just, oh my God, tripping out. And so, so what I said is, if you can't compete, then try to find some other industry to compete in. So that's in reference to, hey, if somebody doesn't hire you, or you think they're hiring because you're a woman or because you're a man or because you're gay or because you're an ethnicity, if you think that is what's stopping you from being hired, prove it. And if you can prove it, okay, fine, there are laws against discrimination. However, why would you want to work in a place where people don't like you? Okay, it's like me trying to get people to come to JillyJuice and they don't like me and they don't like JillyJuice, and I'm trying to convince them and then sue them for not liking me. Okay, well, I mean, when you think about it, everybody has equal opportunity to open up their own business, to go to a different company, and you have a lot of choices out there. It's not like this one company in that one position is the only thing. Okay, so, and then I said, don't take somebody's place because you think you're entitled. If you're a woman and you're able-bodied, nobody's taking your rights away. A strong Republican capitalist economy with shades of socialism is when people recognize their limitations. Instead of thinking they can do anything, you can do everything and earn it. Okay? So, I mean, it's all about earning your place in whatever. And if you can't make it in a company somewhere because of the culture or the higher ups, then you go somewhere else. Okay, if they're creating a hostile environment, yeah, I guess if you can prove it that they're abusing you and trying to drive you out, okay. But I mean, there are laws in place for that. But even then, you could win a lawsuit, but still lose anyways because now everybody hates you. So what did you really win? I guess it's the money thing, right? If you can win a lawsuit and you want to sue for like millions of dollars, that's what people are hoping to gain because they know they're not going to change the hearts and minds of people around them. But now they're trying to get some kind of monetary compensation, which I understand that. But, well, I mean, I guess that's where things are. But why even go through all of that? See, this is the whole thing with the JillyJuice. It's not something you take or are entitled to. This is why I defected from the Democrat Party to the Republican side. My gender has no bearing. And if a gender and ethnicity has bearing, then you are projecting your weaknesses onto others. Now, I know that people don't like me. And if I were to use it as an excuse of why or why not I can't get my stuff done, or why I, am not where I think I should be because of people not liking me, then I have done nothing to better myself or find a way to get in or strategically target a specific market and not try to convince somebody that's not willing to do something. I mean, you just have to kind of reevaluate and then reposition your whole platform to find and target the right people. Because yeah, if you try to throw everything on the wall and see what sticks, you're always going to be going through an exercise of futility. And I think that's what these activist movements do, who are based on gender and ethnicity as well as disability, because it's like they want to force people to like them, to hire them, and just throw away any perception of them, which I understand. Believe me, I want people to like me too and throw away all the perceptions that they have of me from the media out there. But it takes me to keep redefining JillyJuice. It has to be something you have to continuously do on a daily basis until you get your point across. Because here's the thing, the ultimate thing about JillyJuice is it's nothing to do with gender, ethnicity, or race, or socioeconomic status. It has to do with capability. And JillyJuice gives you the capability to understand what it is that you can do, what it is that potentially, yeah, you have limitations. No, I'm not going to be a fireman carrying, a 200-pound dude up a ladder or down a ladder in like 5 minutes. I know my limitations. I know I'm not going to be a truck driver. Now, if I want to be, I could try to be, but that's not my intention. But there are certain things that I know I can't do, and I'm not going to try to force that upon people and say, okay, I'm a woman, I should be able to be, taking $100,000 a year as a fireman, only doing, office work, when a person who would be very capable of being a fireman actually reap those benefits and be paid according to his skills and capabilities. And that's exactly why I've defected away from the Democrats into the Republicans, because it is about capability and knowing your limitations. Okay? So if you think the man is keeping you down, you're keeping yourself down, blaming it on the man, and then you find like-minded people. This is like the feminists out there. And then you find the like-minded people who project the same weaknesses, And then you create a political party grabbing market share, capitalizing on projecting discrimination, which is capitalism in of itself, but you're cannibalizing your own. So when you project your weaknesses, that right there is a way to then create money. So activism and anti-capitalism or socialism is a type of capitalism that cannibalizes its own people. It says, okay, instead of creating something new and innovative for the people, you keep regurgitating the same arguments. Essentially, like when a person has malabsorption and malnutrition because they have leaky gut and they do like exercises and all these therapies, the body has to go and steal resources from the hair, skin, and nails and the bones to keep the vital organs going. So essentially, activism, when you're not being actually creative and innovative, you're cannibalizing your country by stealing resources, diverting them people away from actual innovation, and getting them all riled up, and then taking their money to go and fund a campaign that really has no intention to be progressive in a way to where you are changing the course of humanity. And so that's how I view all activism. Okay, we have laws in place. You take care of your body, you take care of your family, and you take care of your country. But you don't cannibalize your country because you have a disability. When you have disabilities, guess what? You feed off of other people taking their resources. The innovation is where America's intention, but people's sickness and degradation and all of that has now turned them into parasites. Okay? And so this I know is very a little advanced for some, because I've come full circle with the JillyJuice as well as my politics. I didn't just regurgitate what my parents told me. For many years I did. I didn't just regurgitate what was written on the internet, what I was told to think, like the conspiracy world, the libertarian world, the independent movement world. And I've now applied the balance of my body, mind, and spirit to now see how that translates in politics and innovation and all of that. And so this is how I see the propagandist social constructs, is cannibalizing your own kind to lift you up. So that's what being a bully does too. When all these articles, when I'm looking at Fox News is the only actual American news, you have PBS, Daily Mail, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NPR, oh crap, PBS, did I say that already? The Sun, Pathos, Newsweek, Time, all of these outlets are completely like left-wing socialists. And the only one that I could see is even remotely fair and balanced when you think about it, conservative, is Fox News. That's not a coincidence, okay? It's not a coincidence. When you have so many sick people and they have to go and demonize and they have to go and parasite off the minerals of others by creating issues that don't even exist because they're projecting it from within, that's a sign of a body imbalance parasiting off itself, cannibalizing itself. And so when I went on to that thread, I'm trying to give people a different perspective that you are capable. You're not, these men are not your ex-husbands. They're not, I mean, Trump is not your ex-husband. He's not your ex-boyfriend. He's not someone that abused you back then. Yeah, he's a very red-blooded American male who happens to have locker room talk with other men. Okay, big freaking deal. You raised them. Okay, and so now it's time to, I would say, get healthy, purge out all of your trauma. Because that's how I see activism and racism and all these people that claim the isms, is that they are looping in trauma that's never been healed and will never be healed until they heal their body. And then all that trauma of feminism, racism, all that stuff purges away. And so And then when you're not healed, guess what? You guys seen it as far as the Jilly juicers. You know that when you're aging, it's the body stealing resources. Okay, so when you do the Jilly juice and you refill the reserves and you reverse all your illnesses, then you don't have the same views. You don't have the same political views. You're not going to demonize Trump, who's backing the Constitution, who's backing the Bill of Rights, who's trying to now put the responsibility back into the parents' hands to now be personally accountable. If you're going to raise a kid, take care of your kid. Okay, if you choose not to raise your child, okay, then you pay child support. It's as simple as that. So when I went onto that thread and I was being just completely just attacked, and I'm reading and I'm laughing because now, I mean, you know what? Now I'm so immune to the laughing, the angry faces, the attacks, because it's a sign that, yeah, it's still very imbalanced people that haven't figured out the balance between their body, mind, and spirit. Okay. But then you see the hypocrisy. You see the hypocrisy when you have misalignment. And I wanted more evidence to show me that my decision defecting from the Democrat side to the Republican, because even when I was libertarian and anti-government, I was still, sympathetic to the socialist Democrats for a while. And then then it just hit me a couple of days ago, or a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I'm like, you guys are all about anti-discrimination, promote women except for you type of thing. And it's just like, okay, you promote women, you want women to be like all the best and be the best, but yet you attack any woman that has some kind of innovation to break out of that mold of man hating. Okay, and then they're like, oh, you're a sex worker or something, it's like totally capitalizing on the whole perception that all Asians are sex workers and stuff. And so, that's what I'm saying is like, women, they haven't really truly collectively organized in such a way to be a force against the man. Okay, so when men are so not emotional and they're logical and they're very resource oriented and business minded, they're always going to be, whoever it is always going to pull ahead. And those that are so emotional, living from PTSD and trauma and listening to somebody else that's like, yelling in their ear about how they're so oppressed in this, they're never going to organize and get ahead. They'll never be strategic and say, okay, well, if this company doesn't like me or appreciate my contribution, I'm going to go and start my own. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't understand what's wrong with recognizing your limitations or going out and sparking your own company and then taking market share, but not by cannibalizing your friends and family. By saying, oh yeah, everybody hates you, and give me money to then promote a campaign that everybody hates you. I mean, that's essentially what activism is. And so I find it kind of interesting that those out there are activism against something instead of getting their body, mind, and spirit correct, allowing those that are really imbalanced to show how imbalanced they are by watching them kind of fall on their face in a lot of ways. It's like you almost have to let it go. Because even in the Republican Party, there is people that are not very well balanced. Okay, so I'm not saying it's just the Democrats. What has kind of turned Republicans into socialists in some ways is socialist medicine. Socialist medicine keeps you very stagnated. I mean, George Bush Sr. probably exemplified the Republican Party with shades of socialist medicine because of backing of the stem cells and then the whole No Child Left Behind, which I kind of understand. But we didn't really have the answer. So every single time we try to remedy a problem, it creates more problems. And that's what's wrong with the Republicans and the Democrats right now, is the fact that we are trying to remedy problems with temporary solutions that create more issues. And when you keep regurgitating the same stuff, when you keep reinventing the wheel, you'll have more of the same. It's like garbage in, garbage out. And it doesn't matter how you characterize the garbage going in, the system is still going to recognize the garbage as it's coming out. And that's what politics are today in a lot of ways. However, we do have the specific doctrine of America, which is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the law. And we will see what happens. But yeah, so the whole thing with JillyJuice is going to align your perspective. And you're going to recognize the shortcomings, even in the political party, like in the Republicans. I recognize their shortcomings. I don't think everything is so wonderful about them, but I think their premise is a lot more what I'm aligned with. And Trump is a lot more what I'm aligned with than any of the Democrats out there. So that's who I'm going to back. And that's why it's like a total awakening when you finally get to this point of JillyJuice. When you finally do, and when you get there, you can't go back to where you used to be. And then you look at where you were raised, you look at now all the problems in society, and you can't help those people. You can try to offer more insight on why people act the way they act, but essentially they're going to have to figure it out for themselves. And then they'll keep exhibiting every single predictable thing that they're going to exhibit. And maybe if you are a mirror up to them, they might take a look, because we're all mirrors of each other. When you attack me and I'm a woman and a minority with an innovative thought, you're now actually going against your own principles if you're a feminist. Oh, but then they think that women that don't follow the feminist movement are now sellouts. They're now man pleasers. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's funny as hell. So, it's like you're seeing now me going through, as far as the JillyJuice, you're seeing me going through the past, because I was raised in a very feminist household, raised in California, Silicon Valley, the epitome of freaking feminism and relative innovation, socialist innovation, if that's even a term that would be appropriate. And so now you're seeing me go through the different layers of time and coming to terms with it and seeing what's going on, and now rejecting it and understanding it. And now this is my thought process. It's not regurgitated and pounded in by my mother. I love my mother, but I don't subscribe to her principles. Now, I appreciate what I was raised in, because it gave me a major background in how I developed the JillyJuice protocol. However, it's time to move past those archaic principles that are espoused in the left-wing drama. Okay. And so it's like, holy crap. Now you can go on and on and on about all the different politics, immigration, and everything else. But we have laws in place. And if you don't want to trigger the law, then take personal accountability. And that's what it comes down to. Now, if there is a law that is completely like violating Mother Nature on the life side, the people will rise up. And that's what communism is. Okay, so there is first there is capitalism, which is a very able-bodied society. Everyone is producing at the level of their limitations or ability, and they are equally contributing. However, if they don't take care of themselves, or there's issues or whatever, then you have a socialist type of economy where people are then where their disabilities and whatever are being capitalized on, commodified, where, okay, yeah, you have this disability, but we know you can't do this, but you can do this. That's kind of what our society is right now. It's a more socialist economy, okay? And that's why you have then that conflict between capitalism and socialism, because you have the capables and the lack of the capables, okay? And then when the socialist people start putting amendments and start putting laws in place that violate the laws of life, That's when you have communism. And that's when people rise up. That's the actual body revolting against some unknown entity trying to destroy it. So when you think about it, cancer is like communism. Okay? Cancer disease and chronic illness is like a communism. When the body rises up and tries to revolt, and that's why you're seeing major symptoms. So when you see a nation or a country or a household or a company have like insurrection or have mutinies, it's because now the dictator and the laws are now violating the laws of life. Okay? And so when you have a socialist economy, you're seeing, okay, the body's existing, but there's some major red flags. Be very careful, because you're going to hit communism, where people rise up, or you're going to hit capitalism, where people actually get better. And so the JillyJuice wants people to rise up to their abilities, their extreme potential, and communism is where you're being completely pulled down, and it's triggered by socialism. So socialism has you go either direction. That makes sense. That makes sense on a political level. Here, there's another revelation. Okay, so you have capitalism, you have socialism, and then you have communism. So capitalism is completely healthy people contributing and competing. Socialism is where you have half capable, half disabled, and PTSD and all that stuff. And then communism is where the government is and the people are applying laws, all disabled and violating laws of life. Okay, so socialism is where you have cancer. Communism is where you have death and people are trying to protest against death. Okay, so capitalism is complete health. And I'll glean this out more, but you got to see how politics translates to the human body and the symptoms. And so, yeah, because when you actually have everybody rise up, not just half the population, because when half the population rises up and is in an activist type of stance, those are red flags that there's something wrong. And people are speculating what's wrong. But when you have everybody, when you have the Democrats and the Republicans rising up, that's when you know somebody is applying the laws of death to a society that wants to live. Okay? And so this is why we have to have somebody in your country that's going to keep some kind of law and order, some kind of infrastructure, and some kind of stability. Let those that are sick, fine, go and exhibit your sickness. Go and do what you got to do, demonize somebody else, bully somebody else, because that's what happens. It happens to us and the Jilly Juicers. We're trying to rise ourselves and raise ourselves and go rise above our station. And then you have those that are so incapable trying to pull you down. Okay, but you still have to be strong in the face of that. And you be that stable balancing force to be the example for those that are still out there in the activist world, a reason why they need to get better, because they're just spinning their wheels or they're just going to run themselves out of existence. So that's my freaking takeaway for today. Holy crap, this is so cool. Because, and I'm going to look up the definition, because the definition of communism is where everybody rises up. It's a violent uprising. It's just like freaking cancer. Violent uprising. Socialism is just your symptoms that you're managing with pills, powders, and supplements. Half population is relatively well. The other half is just like all fucked up and they're out there in the streets protesting. Even the Second Amendment people. Okay, I'm not saying that because don't worry, the Constitution, Supreme Court is not going to allow them to take away our guns, okay? But even those that are going out and, you know, but maybe it has to happen. If people really truly think that the government's going to take away their guns and eradicate the Second Amendment, and then the left want to go out there and be like, yeah, 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 and the right want to go out there and be like, no, 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 and everybody gets involved, or they come and do a gun confiscation and everybody sees this happening, that's when even the perception of a communist thought process is coming into play. And people can recognize indicators. So if not everybody is going out there and rising up because they haven't been affected by it, then maybe there's something else going on, which is people's perceptions of something that may not be true. So you have to look at the collective, all of the collective. If you're drinking Drano is going to kill everybody, no one's going to drink Drano. It's not FDA approved. So nobody drinks Drano because they don't want to die. Okay? So if everybody is affected to where they have to go and rise up against something, then you know there's a communist thought process somewhere violating the laws of life. But that's not happening. So I'm going to think about this more, but capitalism, socialism, communism is just like the stages of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and JillyJuice. I'm going to think about this more, but you guys have a good day. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Bye.